Okay, I think we're finally ready. Good morning, everybody. This is Steve Randone from Brunswick County and the MIS team here. Today we're going to be presenting on what we call the BCMS. It's our application and permitting application that we built here at the county using Laserfish and some other tools. Today we have Kobe Walker, who is a programmer here on staff, who was very instrumental on bringing this to fruition, and he's going to be presenting today, and also probably Mike Reed. He'll be answering some questions as well as Kobe. But anyway, we'll go ahead and get started. Good morning again, everybody, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Steve. Where we're going to begin here is we're going to start with the online application form. That is a simple Laserfish form. I'm going to get that up here.
Can everybody hear Kobe okay?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, thank you. All right, so this is our online application process here. I'm first going to go over the form, and then I'm going to show everybody the process modeler here. So we'll click Run there to get the form up. This is our online application form to begin the central permitting process. When the form loads, we have it automatically pulling a project number. This is done via the Laserfish lookup rule. This just takes and pulls the next number from the database that's available, and it's automatically assigned to the project. Here we have a link to see an instructional video about how to fill out this application.
Are you sharing anything?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
We can hear you, but I can't see if you're sharing anything.
I see his desktop.
So do I.
I can see the desktop.
You may need to log back in to join me and rejoin the session.
Okay, thanks.
All right, sorry about that, guys. We're going to continue here on the online application form. The cool thing about this is it only actually requires 3 fields to be filled out on here for this to be submitted. It just requires the first name, a phone, and an email. The point of this is that anybody can bring up this form and fill it out. The goal of this is to take and anybody that's really familiar with this process, they can fill out the form and just get it completed as quick as possible, and people that may not be as familiar can just fill out these 3 fields, and then someone from Central Permitting can give them a call and assist them with the rest of the form. If we scroll down here, we can see we have this parcel information section here. This is also tied to a Laserfish lookup rule. If you enter a parcel ID and hit Tab, it goes out to our GIS server and shows you a list of possible addresses here, which for this parcel there's only one. So we can select this address. It automatically fills out parcel address. And also this lookup rule here also populates the subdivision and the property owner information down here, such as the last name, address, and additional information. Now, if someone is unfamiliar with their parcel information, they can click this link here. This opens our GIS website where they can take and bring up the map and search using their address or any other information to find their parcel ID. So if we scroll down here, we're also leveraging the ability with Laserfish forms to hide and show sections. For example, you can choose a residential, commercial, or farm extent project. The goal of this form is to show only the information that is relevant to whatever project they're trying to create. For example, when you choose residential, it's information that's only applicable and permits only applicable to the residential project. However, if you change to commercial, you get information that's only relevant to that. Also below, here's a list of possible permits that can be requested, and so they can come through here and check out which permits they would like, and upon doing that, it adds sections to the bottom here about the additional details of the permits they selected. So again, they only have to fill out information that is relevant to the permits they selected. So once everything's done with that, they hit Submit, and this actually goes one more step. It goes to what we call an intake, and I'll show you that on the process modeler. So here that we did the initial form. After that step, it's going to save the application. This step is going to save the documents that were attached to the bottom and allow those to be moved to their correct folders within the project. Next, it's going to create the intake notification. What this is doing is we're leveraging Laserfish as well as SQL and some custom things that we wrote, and this is actually adding an entry to the SQL table for the intake dashboard, and I'm going to show you that in a little bit. It moves to this intake step here. This is the step where people internally will take and open the application. They'll review the application, make sure it's complete, make sure it's correct. Any problems that they have, they'll call the end user, get them to correct that. If they feel it's not ready to be completed yet, they'll make changes. It'll take and loop around this section here and come back to the intake. If they feel like that it should not go through, they can cancel the application. It's going to go through this cancel application step and hit this end event, and that's pretty much it. If they do believe the project is all complete and ready to go, it'll move to this create project step here. And what this will do, this will tell our SQL Server to go ahead and start creating stuff relevant to that project. This will save the application after the intake step to the repository, and then this here will save the completed documents to that project. The last step here is to create our project. So this runs a Laserfish workflow that creates the project, creates the folders, and everything else needed. And last off, it terminates here. The way we're using Laserfish is actually, let me go back on one thing. I want to clarify something real quick. On the main application, I just received a question, so I'm going to go back and show this. On the main application, if we scroll to the bottom, the question was how to attach documents to the main application. If you go to the bottom of the main application here, you can just click Add here to attach documents. And what you do is you select a document type, and then you select the document itself. And you can add as many of these as you would like. And what this is doing is this is going to store it in that projects folder, and it's going to store it in a subfolder that has this title, and it's going to leave it as this name here. So this allows them to attach multiple documents of multiple types within the project. So we'll go back to the process modeler here. The way we're using Laserfish processes is we're using our main application that we developed as the central point. So we kind of have it where you start with this application, it goes to our custom-made internal application, and then from there you launch additional Laserfish processes. There is an additional way to start projects, and I'm going to show that now. I'm going to show the form first, and then I'll show the process modeler, just like I did with the online application. With this one, you fill out your company name, phone number, etc. This is just a pretty quick and clean way to create a project for those that are really familiar with the system already. This is generally contractors that do this process a lot. They'll be familiar with this form and this information. Below, they just select whether it's a residential or a commercial, and then between that, it's either a trade or a change out. And this same kind of thing is going on here as the online application. For example, if you click residential trade, that shows the trade only section. Same thing with commercial trade. If you select change out, that shows that section. Say if we're doing change out, you can select what type of change out it is, additional details, and here they can enter their license number, contractor name, and other information. This all goes over to the project. I'm going to show the project in just a little bit and where this information is presented. And just like the online application, you can add documents here. Simply click add, choose your files, and then upload them. All this is on this form is pretty much stock Laserfish forms. Alright, so next step is I'm going to show the actual VCMS application, and I have that up here. Earlier when I said that you create the applications with either the online application form or the change-out application form, that I mentioned that it adds it to SQL and adds it to our custom application. Those projects show up here on this intake dashboard that we created. This has them in order by project number and then has details here on the right. If they click one of these project numbers, this will automatically link them to the Laserfish forms inbox with the correct form open. So you can see on the right here, this was started by an anonymous user. someone on the outside, and then they would go through here, validate this information is correct, and they can choose to create the project, reject the project, or call the customer for additional information. Once they approve the project, it moves off this intake dashboard to the main dashboard. So I'm going to show you that. This is the main dashboard here. This information is currently, like I said, in our application and in SQL. However, we do plan to move this over to templates and metadata. So each one of these columns here would be represented by a field in the metadata of the project, and then every row here would be a project or a file in Laserfish. So now I'm going to take and open one of these projects as an example. And before I show you the actual project screen, I'm going to show you the layout of our repository. The way we have our repository structured is we have a BCMS folder, which is our internal TP system. We have the permitting category, and then we have the project number. So currently I'm in project 404212. You can see in here we can open the applications. We store the public application, so this is the one that was submitted before the intake step. If we go back, we can see the completed application here. This is after the customer's touched it again and intake has touched it again, and this is what was actually approved for the project creation. So at any point they can go back and see what was created by the public and what was changed by the internal staff. Additional documents are submitted here. Inspections, permits, all this stuff is saved in Laserfish. Some of this I'm not going to go into great detail about. For example, with permits, it's currently being created with SQL Server reporting services. However, we know now that we could have done it with Laserfish forms, so we're planning to change that over as well. So now I'm going to open the project here. This is the approvals page. This just has the departments on the left and has their details going across. They simply open it, type in their information, they go through and approve these, and these have to all be approved or not required to move on to the next step. This also will be converted to Laserfish forms. We just have a checklist here that validates the project. Permits, again, this is currently custom application. As you can see, pretty straightforward information as far as the permit. All this could have been done on Laserfish, so we plan to convert this as well. So I'm not going to spend a long time on that. All these other tabs are just project information, so there's no need to go into details about that. I'll skip over to the Documents tab. I currently don't have rights. This page has rights only to our permitting staff. Internally, what we use is we use the web access. We also have this published externally as well, and if someone from the outside views this page, they would see the web link as opposed to the web access. So on the right here, we have a link to additional Laserfish forms. For example, if they have a new stormwater application they need to submit, they can click that. The way we're using the forms here is we have the forms embedded in iframes within our application. So this is the new stormwater form, pretty straightforward. New document form, again, this is pretty straightforward. What you would do is just select the document type a description, and then upload the document. Same thing as the online application. What this will do is it will take the document, save it in Laserfish, automatically move it to the project folder, and then to the appropriate folder based on the selection here. One other form that we have is the revision form here. This one has a little more going on, but the majority of what's going on in this form is behind the scenes. So we have the project number here automatically filled out by the application, and the way we do that is the web URL with the additional parameters. We have the nature of the revision and description here. We allow them to select the departments. So basically what this does is this actually calls the Laserfish workflow that will take and change the departments to approved, not approved, etc. Because when you submit a revision, this is notifying these departments that they need to relook over the projects. So if it didn't affect any departments, they would just uncheck all. And if it only affected, say, permitting, they would check just permitting. And then here at the bottom, again, the file upload. This is how they would submit the actual revision to the project and any supporting documents. So I'll back out of that. We also have a schedule inspections form I'm going to show you guys. So this is the project screen. We're going to go back out of this, back to the dashboard. These links at the top right are available internally as well as externally as well to the public. For example, we're going to say schedule inspection. And again, this also uses Laserfish forms. So you would just enter the project number and I'm just going to enter an example project number here. Once you enter a project number, what it's going to do is it's going to actually dynamically add a section here. This is custom JavaScript. What we have is a lookup rule that goes out and fetches the currently scheduled inspections. The purpose of this is that when we originally launched this, we were getting duplicate inspections. So as a way to kind of hedge that out, we added this list here that shows the currently scheduled inspections. So that way if I was coming in here to schedule, 409, 161, 1001, I would see that the permit is already scheduled and then not submit an additional request for that inspection. So again, the purpose of this is just to discourage duplicates. So once you enter the project number here, you can select the permit here that you would like to schedule the inspection for, as well as the inspection type. We have rough-ins, finals, all rough-ins, all finals. If you select final, it shows this section here warning you that this is the last step, that only click that if you're serious about it. We have additional notes that apply to the inspection here. Say it's in a location that's hard to reach or that may require additional directions, you can type that in here. The permit type, ID, applicant, all this information here is automatically populated. This comes from the project number here. So again, we try to make it as straightforward and simple on the end user as possible and fill out as much of the information as possible before they even see it. This also goes to an intake step. I'm not going to go to the process modeler for this because it's very similar to the other one. But what they do is they submit this schedule inspections application here. Someone internally looks at it, reviews it, makes sure it's ready to go, calls if there are any additional questions, and then submits it through to become an actual inspection. We also have a cancel inspections form. I'll get that up here. Waiting for this to load. This one's very simple. It just starts the form, starts a workflow, and then saves it to the repository. So if we get up the cancel inspection form here, we can enter a project number. And what this will do is it, again, uses the Laserfish forms lookup rules and goes out to our SQL database, automatically finds our currently scheduled inspections, and lists them here. So basically, there were 2 scheduled for this one, so let's say these 2 are duplicates. They would take and select to cancel this first one here, and put who requested this cancellation and why they requested this cancellation. So this would just be myself and duplicate inspection. Pretty straightforward. The Laserfish workflow just calls a SQL routine to cancel that inspection that was requested to be canceled. So after that, I'm going to show you the actual inspection on the map here. We're leveraging ArcGIS to do our inspections. We have an inspections feature class. So basically, once you fill out the Laserfish form, it goes out to SQL. SQL calls ArcGIS, which creates a feature in our feature class. Our building inspectors actually see this map out in the field. They're looking at this map in real time, and we can see the results in real time. And what I want to show as far as this in relation to Laserfish is on any of these points here, they can click any of these inspections. And at the bottom here, they have this LF mobile link. And if you're on an iPad, this would automatically be in hyperlink, and you can click this and open the web app. Because we're on a desktop, I have to paste it in somewhere else to open it. I'm just going to paste it in Internet Explorer, open that. What that does is it brings up the LF mobile application. So all the inspectors out in the field, all they have to do is click that link, and it takes them to the LF mobile application directly to that project folder. So even though they're using ArcGIS and just the feature class, at any point they can jump into the project folder here and see all the applications, the inspections, essentially all the relevant information and pretty much all there is to know about this project out in the field. And after that, and with that, that's pretty much our from beginning as far as the application to our custom application to the inspections, and then the processes in between. That's pretty much it. We're ready to open this up for questions. If anybody has questions as far as the forms or the application or anything, we don't mind answering those. I'm going to check the chat here, see if there are any questions in there.
Can you go back to your process modelers, reduce the screen so that we can get a glimpse of the entire process and understand your flow a little bit better?
Yeah, definitely. You're referring to the all-in application at the beginning, correct?
Actually, any process that you've tied in to make this whole thing work. I thought I saw at least 2.
Okay, yeah, I could definitely do that. Yeah, let me see what I can do here. The issue I'm running into here is, I mean, the resolution is not really high enough. Can you guys make that out, or is that too small? Let's see if I can full screen this. I'm going to move this one down. Yeah, so this is the initial online application form. What it does, just briefly again, is after you submit the online application, it saves it to Laserfish. This saves the additional documents. This notifies the application to add it to that intake dashboard that I showed. This is the actual intake step. So this is when they see the form again internally and they review the form. This right here is a loop. If they say it needs additional information, it just comes back to the intake. This pathway here is if they cancel the inspection. This step here just removes it from that intake dashboard and then ends it. This one here notifies SQL that this is becoming a project, saves the application from the intake step, not the original one. This saves the documents that were attached at the intake step, and then this actually creates the project in SQL. Additional information about how this works, this step actually calls a workflow, and what it does is we're saving our XML data with our forms. So this uses SQL to go out and grabs that XML from Laserfish and creates the project using that XML data. And then this process ends here, because it kind of jumps out of this process and jumps into our custom application, and from there you can launch additional processes. So with that, I can move on to the next one. Does anybody have any questions about this one before I move to the changeout form? Okay, so I'm going to bring up the changeout form here. This is the smaller form, just to preview it, that I outlined. This is the one for contractors who are very familiar with the process. So I'll take in full screen this one for you guys as well. Let's see if I can fit it all in here. Okay, it's just the end event on the end. Okay, so this one, once they fill out the form, it just saves the application, creates the entry on the dashboard that this is in the intake step, similar to the other one. This is the actual intake step. So basically, after they filled it out externally, this is where our internal staff takes and reviews it, and etc. This is the loop that, like I mentioned earlier, if it wasn't complete. This is just a cancellation that jumps it straight to the end and removes the project. This step here removes it from the intake dashboard, saves it in Laserfish, and then calls that same SQL routine that uses the XML to generate the project.
Would you be able to hit the arrow in the upper left to hide the left pane so we can get a full picture of this? Not go right out, that guy right there.
Yeah, thanks for that. Appreciate that. And here we go. Okay. The stuff that you see at the top here is just when we were testing the form, so this stuff actually isn't connected to anything. It's just this main block here from the green on the left to the red on the right. Does anybody have any additional questions about this process, or would you guys like me to stay here just a little bit longer so you can look over it?
I've got a question about requiring any signatures.
Okay, so we see the question that says, do we require any signatures? I'm going to let Mike Reed, who's here with us, answer that question.
No, we don't have anywhere where you have to sign a signature. They're not required for anything, so the confirmation has always been if they pay the permit. So we used to have signatures on our building permits, but we've been told they're not required anymore. So
Nothing in general statute requires.
And as far as the other processes that we had, they were pretty much straightforward. Just save the application and run a workflow. So as far as the other ones, majority of those were just XML or SQL related. So not much happening as far as the process model around those. Does anybody else have any questions about either the process model or the program, the application, the inspections, anything else?
Okay, do we have any questions real quick about any of the process that was shown here today? Anything that maybe you would like to go back and see, take another look at, what have you?
Okay, so we have a question here saying, was there any Laserfish SDK integration? Currently for this project we didn't. When I was going through the projects and I was mentioning that we were planning to convert it to templates and metadata and fields, we're working on other projects currently that heavily use the Laserfish SDK. This one currently doesn't. What we're using in the place of the Laserfish SDK is we're using SQL and its XML tools and tables and our ArcGIS feature class. We do plan to go back and convert, like I said, to this stuff to templates and metadata, at which point that the application will be using the SDK to go out and grab the fields, metadata, and the other details to show on the screens. So currently we're not using the SDK, but we do plan to. Our custom application is actually written in JavaScript. We're actually using Bootstrap as well.
Angular.
And AngularJS as our framework for that. We went with a web application because we wanted to be able to write one thing and have it available internally, externally, have it work on iPads, desktops, etc. We're using AngularJS because it's just overall an amazing framework with its dependency injection and data binding and stuff. It allows us to get this project done much quicker than using just plain JavaScript or other canned JavaScript things such as jQuery. And Bootstrap's responsible for the theming and layout of the page. So the reason we chose those three things were just to make it work on as many platforms as possible and just for us to be able to get to the goal as quick as possible during our development time. We also have the backend, which is written in C# and it's using Breeze as well. Do we have any more questions?
Okay, well, we see no more questions at this time. If you have any questions after the fact, feel free to contact us. You can contact myself, Mike, Kobe, any one of us. We'll be happy to help you out. Wanted to discuss real quick before everybody got off the line about our development environment. Right now we've got staff working in that trying to get users set up, but we ran into one hurdle where we didn't have enough license versus the number of people that have actually joined this group. So staff went back to Laserfish and discussed that with them, and I believe they are adding 100 license, or actually getting us up to 100 license now. Currently, we have 40-something members that have signed up with this group. We also ran into a couple other issues that we're trying to work out. Some of the applications that were demoed, at least I know one of them, uses email to email notifications, and in our development environment we didn't have anything set up for that, to handle that situation, nor did we have anything set up to handle the SQL. So we're looking at SQL Express with that. So, Mike, do you want to add anything to that?
I got nothing.
Okay. So we're still actively working on that, and hopefully get those things ironed out shortly. So just bear with us. Does anybody have any questions before we wrap this up? Okay, well, we'll follow up with an email, basically, I guess, setting up the next demo, when that'll be, and probably giving y'all more of an update on the development environment, and hopefully have that ready for people to start utilizing here shortly. So once again, thank you all for joining us this morning, and if you'd like to have us share this with you prior to having it out on the development environment, feel free to contact us directly as well. So again, thanks again, and everyone have a good day.